Hi, everyone. Again, I am Professor Tanya Hertz, Professor of Entrepreneurship and Management at San Diego Miramar College and San Diego State University. And tonight I'm going to be talking to you about writing a bad news message. And in order to do that, let's go ahead and look at where you'll find the information on the bad news messages here on on Canvas. And when you open up Canvas, you'll see the guidelines for the bad news message there. And let me pull up those guidelines right now. And you'll see the guidelines for the bad news message it's from the textbook. And essentially, there's a little bit of background that you'll want to read. And you will be writing a bad news message as if you are Nick Jensen and you're writing some bad news to your uncle about the chemicals division in which you work with him. So there's a lot of information. Read through all of it. And writing a bad news message is different than any other kind of business communication. So you know how normally in business communication, we've learned that you use the deductive approach, always the deductive approach. You get to the point immediately. Don't beat around the bush. The only time that this isn't true is when you're writing bad news. This is when we want to use the inductive approach to business writing. So rather than getting to the point immediately, when we have bad news to deliver, we want to ease in and we want to use the inductive approach in that we start with the buffer and then we provide the rationale and then we give the bad news. So we're using an indirect method. And these are the components of an indirect message. And I also gave you some examples of some buffer statements that we can use. You always want to start with a buffer statement, either something neutral or some sort of thank you or common ground, compliment. Never just come right out and say the bad news. Well, you might want to think of a bad news message the way I think of it, because I think of it as a sandwich. And the bread of the sandwich is good things, and the meat of the sandwich is the bad news. So you don't ever want to just throw the meat at somebody. You want to sandwich that bad news in between good things, a buffer statement, something positive, the rationale, and then you always want to also end on the bottom of the sandwich with good news as well, or something positive. You want to make sure that you're using the fair approach to writing a bad news message. And this is the format I'd like you to use. So when you submit the assignment, I want you to write the email to me in a Word document as if I am your uncle and you are Nick Jensen. And so you'll want to get rid of this thing that says format, right? Whenever you're using a business template, you want to get rid of the template parts. And then you'll have the to, the subject, the dear. You'll come up with your own buffer sentence, your own rationale, the bad news, the impacts, and then you're going to end on a positive note. You'll save all of that and you'll send it over to me. You'll upload that into Canvas. All right. Well, I think that's that for this episode, and I look forward to reading your bad news messages. Thanks very much.